welcome to another episode of Conscious Conversations with Ascending Tribe. I'm Alex, creator of Ascending Tribe, and today we have my co-host here again, Chris. It's becoming a frequent occurrence with Chris being here. We have an amazing guest with us at the moment. She is amazingly connected, has an abundance of wisdom. She is Min Kaler. Welcome. How are you feeling, Min?
I feel great.
Well, let's just jump straight into it. So basically, I'm very curious about your, the start basically of your path of self-remembrance, if that is what you would call it. Do you feel like you were always conscious of how the world was, or, was there a time that you felt like you were indoctrinated? What was that push? What was that spark?
First of all, thank you to Ascending Tribe for having me, and thank you, Chris, for being the co-host for Alex. So I just want to say I appreciate the opportunity. This is the first time that I have been asked to talk. No, it's not the first time I've been asked. I've been asked many times to talk about my journey, but this is the first time that I've actually wanted to talk about it. So this is an exclusive, y'all. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it with you guys is because I feel like it will resonate with your followers and my followers who have been asking me about my spiritual journey for the last 4 years. And I have kept it hidden because it's very personal to me, and I felt like I needed to be in a grounded place before I revealed some of these very personal things, which obviously involve culture, my family, details that, it's not in my culture to really share. So there are a lot of sensitive topics. So if I'm not hesitating, but I'll be saying things in a slightly diplomatic way, it's only because I would like to show respect to my family and my culture. So so coming back to, do you mean was I 3D? Yes, I was living in the matrix, just like a lot of people are now, and that was most of my life. But it's not to say that as a female who was making her way in the world, I'm from a generation in the 90s where we had no internet, so no social media, everything was just as it is. And as an artist, as a musician, I've been playing piano since I was 7 years old. So that was self-taught through ear. So I learned by hearing things and then playing them. So I only know this now, but I already had connected to another plane of thought or another dimension where through that, my own very introverted qualities were getting channeled into something quite creative through music. So music actually became the gateway to my spiritual experience almost. So anyway, I started writing when I was 13, and I thought myself quite the rapper after Salt and Pepper and NWA and Wu-Tang, heavily influenced by them. So it was unusual because as the only female in my family with 2 brothers, I was a tomboy. I was living that life where I wasn't allowed to have sleepovers. I wasn't allowed to really have friends. Very strict upbringing from my father. My mother, very spiritual. And my uncle used to really promote my music and come to all my concerts at school. But I was a very shy, awkward child, hugely introverted, complete nerd, considered myself like super ugly to look at. And, I didn't feel celebrated, but when I did my music, that was everything to me. So fast forward, after I started doing music at 13 and writing, I realized that it was more about singing and not rapping. So I felt already out of place. Now, a lot of people who say they've had like a spiritual awakening will say that they felt out of place all their life. So I literally did feel like a weirdo. I was told I was a weirdo. I didn't have many friends. I wasn't allowed to join like a lot of the bands or groups. I wasn't allowed to express myself. So there became this huge oppression inside. So I don't want to blame my parents because they were trying to protect me. My culture, you know, where my parents are from North India, and it's not really something that you would go around telling people that, you know, you're into Wu-Tang as a 13-year-old. And as you get older, you realize that the rules are very different for my brother, who could be, you know, plastering Wu-Tang motherfucker everywhere and singing it. But yet I couldn't even have anything in my room, and I was just focusing on playing the piano. Right, so then fast forward, I battled with trying to do my music, and none of the men in production would help me. They told me I couldn't be a producer and be a lyricist at the same time. We didn't have any Missy Elliott's then. So I found myself very, very alone. I went into my shell, and that happened all my life. I found it hard to be in relationships. So as a teenager, you know, I was a virgin till really a lot older than what people think. I only ever had like 2 relationships in my life. So it was very, very strange. Then when I hit my 30s, I was with someone for quite a long time and living with him. I was in a relationship for 12 years actually. And I went into huge depression. So that was the first trauma, and that actually hit me when I was 16 because of my home environment. There's a lot of addictions. There was a lot of I saw a lot of violence. So as you are a child of that, you're not going to have a positive experience of love. Everything is survival mode. It's very fear orientated. So then I excelled in my studies because that was my gateway out. Went to uni, did all the things. But what I'm saying is that stays with you. And you are constantly feeling like you're on the edge. You know, you're about to explode, you're a bomb. And I realized that a lot of young people around me were feeling like that as I got older. So I became a youth worker. And I started running a youth center for a lot of young offenders. And I did that for 10 years. So I met my partner and ended up like living with him and stuff. And I just started to drink really heavily. And there was a lot of alcohol abuse, and I hadn't ever drank at uni. I didn't do any of it, but he had a good relationship with drink, and his mum drank and his dad drank. But me, I didn't have a very good, my dad's alcoholic. So for me, it wasn't, you know, the addiction side, it can run in the family. So I have a very addictive personality. And my experience of alcohol as an empath, I would say that many empaths, if they start drinking or if they do drugs or anything like that, they'll do it very excessively because they'll really feel it quite deeply. And it can really send you down the mental health route. So I was diagnosed with clinical depression in my 30s. And they told me I'd had it since I was 16. I checked myself into hospital because I didn't know what was wrong with me. I was an insomniac, I wasn't fit, I wasn't training. I was staying awake all night and watching crime shows, Law and Order, psychotic crime, killing, horror. When you're addicted to things like that, or you're fascinated with things like that, there's something there which is just not connecting. Because in real life, if those things happen in front of me, I'm sure that I wouldn't be that fascinated drinking my wine and watching people kill each other and chop each other's heads. I just had this fascination. So I knew that I was really fascinated with the darker side of human beings, but I think it's because I wanted to understand myself. I wanted to understand my father. I wanted to understand what was like wrong with me. So I studied psychology. I did a degree in psychology. Then I went on to work with mental health people. A lot of young people had mental health problems. So it was external. I started channeling it and helping other people rather than helping myself. So again, I'm split. I'm leading like a double life. In my relationship, I'm leading a double life because he's all grounded and centered and rich and happy. And I've got the perfect life. Don't have to do anything. But yet I was empty inside. It was a void. And I just kept drinking. Then my friends did an intervention on me. And I got really offended because I thought, wait, you guys are drinking. Why am I being picked on? Because they said, you know, you become very aggressive. So I was in my very male side. I didn't like myself being a female. I thought it was weak. I thought emotions were weak. I thought I was a bit of a hard nut. I was around a lot of males. I was doing music in the music studios full of just guys, and I'm a rapper. So they were all very, very male things. And then I had a real physiological breakdown, submitted myself into hospital. And then I ended like the relationship as well soon after, because I don't think he was coping with it well. I didn't want to ruin his life. So I became homeless. I was sleeping on my friends' couches, and I didn't want to go back home to my parents' house because I came from something that wasn't great. My brother found out. He was like, what? You need to come home. So me and my brother got a great relationship. My brothers are fantastic. I ended up moving home at the age of 34. So I think that was in about 2012. Now I lost all my friends. I'm away from London. I'm in Berkshire, which is obviously near Windsor Castle. My parents have moved there into the countryside. And I'm in a room which is the size of like a little bathroom, okay? I had just started physically training in fitness because I was trying to get rid of my depression. They kept trying to give me antidepressants and I didn't want to take it because I wanted to come off the alcohol. I'd just come off, and I just went kind of cold turkey. By the way, nobody knew. My parents didn't know that I'd been suicidal for so long. I had attempted suicide many times. A lot of self-harm. So I'm in this box room and it's literally a box. And I then start training. I haven't got a job anymore. I find fitness course and I decided to become a personal trainer. So I used to get on the train and travel nearly 2 hours just to go and do this damn course. I became a personal trainer. I became addicted to training, right? Then I bought a bike, got a job in the local gym near my parents. And it was not nice because a lot of the people there were very close-minded. A lot of Asian or Indian people had a certain stereotype. There were a lot of Pakistanis, a lot of Muslims, and they kind of looked down on me. The guys would always harass me, like sexually harass me. My own manager did, and then he fired me. So I was left with nothing again. So it was like the constant trauma. And my body just used to feel like it was just sensitive, like even just to everything. And all I needed to do was just have a job and some money and go home. So I started cycling. I really cycled for hours a day in the countryside, in nature. I was loving it. I didn't want to listen to any music which had words because I didn't want to remember or feel emotion attached to any person. So I started listening to binaural beats. So for anyone who doesn't know what binaural beats is, please look it up. It's just like a certain frequency which can really alter the states of your mind. So it will take you through like certain, you know, delta waves or whatever. And I didn't really know anything about it. I'm not spiritual at this point. My mum, bless her, she just tried her best to kind of be there for me, but she was angry because I had left my relationship. So there was a disconnect there. So I'm cycling, and then I used to go to this lake and there were some swans, which I befriended. I know this is all going to sound really weird, but I used to really look forward to making it to this lake before the sun set. So all these things that I'm doing, bear in mind I'm training twice a day, I'm eating really healthily, I'm outdoors, I'm in nature, I am sun gazing without realizing. I'm listening to binaural beats, and one day I was coming back and I heard a voice in my head, and it was me, but it was really like talking like this. And I'm cycling now. And I'm about to turn into my mum's road. And there's all these hills. She lives near a reservoir. It's stunning. All these sheep, you know, hills. It's the last house on the left. Horror movie title. And then I heard this voice and I was like, what the fuck is that? So I'm literally cocking my head like this. I'm like, God, is that you? But it's me. And I'm like listening, thinking, okay, maybe I'm just thinking. But it didn't sound like I was just thinking, because you know your own voice when you're thinking, right? So I'm talking about atoms. And I'm like, what the fuck am I talking about right now? So I'm like, fuck it, we're gonna go. We're gonna go around all the way again. So I just kept cycling now. I thought, let me go to the lake. And I thought, no, what if I stop cycling? And then what if the voice stops? I was like, I need to know what I'm saying to me. So I carried on now for another like half an hour. And then I came home and I ran upstairs. I didn't even have a shower. I ran upstairs. I've still got the purple book. I will show you the evidence. And I started writing about atoms, physics stuff, and DNA and epigenetics, and like I didn't do too great in science. So I'm like thinking, what the fuck is this? What is going on? It was like a diary of a madman. And I thought, oh, I can't tell anyone this because they're going to think I'm mad. So I can imagine that if someone else went through something that I went through, then they got to a point where they can hear a voice and they got scared and maybe they told their parents, right? I didn't tell my parents anything at that point. And then the parents are like, okay, I'm taking you to see a doctor. And then you go see a shrink. And then they're like, right, we think you're schizophrenic and we need to put you on meds. Boom, that's it. Your higher self, gone. It's been drugged up. And this happens majority to males, I've noticed, because I'm still running, I used to run that youth club, right? And my brother, he has drug-induced schizophrenia. So I was his carer as well for like many years. And he's only 3 years younger than me. But he got sectioned and he did turn to like drugs, hardcore drugs. So I'm thinking, I can't tell anyone because mental health probably runs in my family and now I'm mental. So then I went onto YouTube and I started just typing in atoms or whatever. I found KRS-One, and I obviously from hip hop, I loved what he was talking about, consciousness and stuff. But there was nothing that I could type in to say, am I going mad? What are the voices in my head? Because then things like Samaritans would come up, talk to Frank, and, you know, refer yourself, or maybe do, how do you say it, like a test, online test to see if I'm mental, basically unstable. So this became a private little hell and heaven at the same time, because I was like, my heart was just, the physiological reactions, I could do a whole podcast just on that, right? I was waking up at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. in sweats. And I used to just write things down, and then I just carried on doing it. Then I went through more trauma after that. So that was just my higher self connecting to me. And I've met this person who I'm talking to, and he becomes like my best friend. I fell in love with him. And long story short, he really did me dirty, probably because he didn't want to access his own power. And I was a reflection of his potential power. So he really like betrayed me. That betrayal and that trauma, by the way, I had moved in with someone I met in the gym, a girl, and I moved to West London, and I was very happy. So I had moved, I'm doing all these amazing things for myself. I'm like, right, I'm getting independent. When you have trauma that is just you and doesn't involve maybe another person, it's very different. When you have trauma of the heart, no one can get past that. You can't get over it. If it involves love, like a soulmate connection, that will send you into a different breakdown. So I have many breakdowns to compare. I'm only telling you the main ones. That breakdown, when it happened about 3 years ago. And I'm walking down the street and suddenly, like, you know, this person is just stabbing me verbally left, right and center now without realizing there's no care involved. They probably like moved them to someone else, and my heart was destroyed after they led me on for many years. So I'm thinking, this is my best friend. They would never do that to me. And it's like firing of the rounds in my head. I fell in the street near my house, and something broke inside of me. And I literally like went home and I locked myself in my room, and I couldn't get past it. So I think I left it was like an NDE. I left myself and I was somewhere else for about 4 or 5 days. I just started a new job, okay? The one I'm in now. My career was lifting off. Everything was, you know, technically doing great. My music was doing great. So this broke me differently. And I had a Kundalini Awakening. So this is the main pivot of what people don't really know. At that time, I'm trying my best to go to this new job and then putting on my social media that I'm okay. So I'm doing my every morning, hey, infinite rising everyone, you know, doing my selfies in the mirror. I used to have this beautiful long mirror, and I had a balcony, and there was a lot of nature, and the sun used to come streaming in. It was stunning. Now the light hit me, and there was this massive red light. When I looked at the picture, I was like, what the fuck is that? So it was an upside down heart. And I thought, okay, that's weird. Something happened to me. I've never told anyone this. The world as I know it was not solid. It was wavy. I had to hold on to a fence just to get to the station, to get to work. This is a new job, brand new job. I'm having to get on the train. I'm feeling like I've got an out of body experience. Everything's wavy. I'm sitting in meeting rooms and the blinds are like this. And it's almost like I'm on an island, but it's all wavy. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And if I tell anyone, I'm gonna be crazy. So the actual job that I've got was to help disabled adults, right? I run a center. That's my thing. I'm a manager. I worked my way up, and you know, well done to me. Through everything that happened, I managed to secure an amazingly well-paid job. I got my own office. I got my own laptop. I'm the boss. I'm flexing. I'm in charge of over nearly 40 staff. I've made it. My mum was just so proud. I was like, Mum, I made it. Like, you know, this is not even something I thought my dreams would ever come true. I was juggling, just a year before that, I was juggling like 2 jobs in bars and working here and there and just being everyone's little bitch and getting fired from every job that I went into. And now I'm in this position. I'm not fucking it up for nothing, okay? So I'm there and I'm like, holy shit. So I go back to the center now, and I'm about to interview a yoga teacher for my center for these adults. She sat down. Now she's got this beautiful makeup and she just looks so divine. And I went to her, I know I don't know you, but can I ask you something? So I'm thinking, this is a yoga teacher. She knows what the fuck is going on. I told her what was happening and I showed her the picture. By then it was like, I think the 2nd or 3rd day, and it went from red to orange to yellow. Every day was a different color. I know now that there were chakras. I did not know what the fuck a chakra was then. What was I going to type into Google? You know, why is the world wavy? Like, it was mad. So I said to her, yo, her eyes went so big. She said, has this ever happened to you before? I went, no. I said, what the fuck is going on, please? Am I dying? What is going on? And when is this going to stop? She said, girl, you need to ground. I went, what's that? She goes, do you have crystals? I went, no. What's that? I had no idea. And people looking at me now would be like, Min, that doesn't know about chakras and crystals? Yes, Min. So this was fucking super scary. She goes to me, your Kundalini's opened. I went, oh, so this has happened to you, right? She was like, it's rare. I'm like, bitch, how do I stop it? She said, well, you can't, you have to ground. She goes, you're very open right now. You're very open. I'm like, getting scared. And at this point, Alex, I don't know Nubia. So Nubia is, oh, actually, Chris, you saw who Nubia was, right? So she's in the center and she's hovering around me anyway, because she started saying some really weird things to me. She's like, yeah, we've been waiting for you. Listen, did I not feel like I was in the fucking Matrix movie where I'm hiding under my desk going, hello, God, what's going on? And she's knocking on my door. And you know how Nubia looks. She's very like dramatic, right? I'm like, and this crazy bitch is coming up to me with all her big ass crystals and her unapologetic self. Then I've got the yoga teacher. No one seems to tell me what's going on. So then I told her as well. And she was like, yeah, we need to protect you. She goes, shush, don't talk about it in this. And I'm like, is this a movie right now? Because this feels like a fucking movie right now. Oh my God. I was like, this is extra. I can't deal. This is extra. She got me in her car. She went, you're not going on the underground. She said, the underground cuts your chakras off. Wow. Now, I didn't know that. I didn't know that when you go underground on the transport systems that your chakras are shut down. I didn't know. I said, what the fuck are chakras? So she's like, okay. So she opened this world to me. Then she starts giving me all these crystals. She goes, you need to get this one for this day. And I'm like, this is mad. I said to her, by the way, the world is wavy. She was like, okay, we need to get you to sit under a tree, hug a tree, and get your feet in the soil. And I'm like, nah, I don't really want to do that, because in my mind I'm thinking, this is like pagan shit, right? And then I'm like, okay. So she did this nearly every day. So up until I think 7 days later, it was the weekend now. I'm on the balcony, and then I take, like, you know, as I do, a selfie, whatever. And there's this huge light that's come out of my head. It's like golden white. It's on my head. And before that, the violet light was here, right? And I sent it to her and I said, yo, look, this is what's happening. After that day, the world went back to being solid. And I was very grateful. She taught me about like playing, obviously, the meditation music and stuff. And I'd already learned a little bit about that before with the spiritual relationship that had actually hurt me. I was really on that wave anyway. So the Kundalini Awakening didn't just happen out of nowhere. It was because I was opening or activating a certain part of maybe my pineal gland and having conversations with a divine masculine, or what I thought was a divine masculine. I thought, okay, this is all going to be amazing. I'm going to be with this person and we're going to do amazing spiritual work together. I didn't know what a Kundalini activation was. So she didn't know. She knew of it, but she hadn't experienced it. The yoga teacher didn't know. She knew of it, but she hadn't experienced it. And I was like, how is it that you guys don't know what it haven't had it? Because you're doing yoga. You're like Erica Badu. What is going on? And it's almost like the Stigmata movie where you don't have to be a certain way, Alex. And that's why I can say that, because when people are saying you got to be vegan and you got to be this and you got to be that, yeah, that will help you channel the energy systems. It will decalcify you. It will clear out your system. But guess what? It's hard to do it when you're making the conscious decision of, I'm not going to eat meat. Hear what now? I can't eat meat whether I want to or not. My body's like, no, bitch. I'm going to make you sick. That's purging. But that didn't happen until my spirit, my soul, my gut, my heart, and my brain was all aligned. So the fitness, I continued. Yes, great, tick. Physical, done, clean. Number 2, it's going to be mental, done. Okay, I'm not a schizophrenic. Okay, that I'm balancing now with the meditation, with the 432 kilohertz, with the binaural, with everything. Okay, I'm feeding my mind. I'm an open channel. My high self is talking to me. Boom. Okay. The mental, physical, emotional was the hardest, because that had been crushed. So the emotion, my heart was the last thing, which I only recently kind of, you know, balanced, right? So I was all here, mental and physical. So my crown, my third eye, all of that, and my root, because I wasn't engaging in any like sexual kind of activities and stuff like that. And I was really on the food, balanced out, you know. I wasn't in my fear anymore. And it just felt like it had gone bing, bing, but not here, but it had gone, I know this is controversial. The chakras, how it happened to me, from root, it went round, ping, sacral, creativity. No, sacral and then solar, right? Then it went there, then it went there, then it honed in there last. If you've seen Fifth Element, you know what I'm talking about. You know when she just goes like that and it just goes out from her chest, the light. The heart activation only happened for me earlier this year when I came into my compassion. So when they say the spiritual journey never ends, the Kundalini activation can open, but how you maintain it is very important. So mine closed back up and I went into hatred mode, really hated the person, how they hurt me. But my mental and my spiritual knowledge was on point. My physical, about how I knew the body, I had researched my body and the minerals, and hang on a minute, if I'm a body, then that means the world is a body, and that means where's the celestial body, and is the earth the heart chakra, and are the planets the other chakras? Like, my mind was going crazy. I couldn't sleep. The universe kept waking me up. Then I started writing. At 4:44, I was woken up every morning. Kept saying to my mum, I keep waking up at 3 a.m. or at 4 a.m. She went, no, it's good. She goes, you're supposed to pray or meditate. So my mum meditates every morning, bang on 3:30. So she said that's when the veil, or the spiritual world and the physical world, is the thinnest, and it's the merging. And she said that's why a lot of people, like Muslims, pray at, you know, sunset, dawn, and those, they're very, very in between states. So my mum was telling me a few things here and there, but mostly, Alex and Chris, I was really learning from experience. And it was my trauma and my experience that really set me on the path of, Min, you got some shit to do. And then I realized that my higher self was the one giving me the intel. And then I stopped reading books many years ago. But if I see something where I know I'm supposed to read, like I started reading Super Intelligence because I saw Elon Musk had read it, wanted to know a bit more about AI and things like that. So then I started getting downloads, and I started lucid dreaming, started astral traveling, and those things are, I mean, I know it's going to have to be a separate subject because I know I'm really like talking a lot, but the lucid dreaming was the most scariest thing. I know why people don't do it, is because it's so fucking real that you literally feel like, I want to fly, but if I go off this balcony, I might die. Am I awake or am I asleep? I don't know. And then that fear will manifest, and then you'll hesitate, and then you'll wake up. So the lucid dreaming is when you're lucid in your dreams. Before that, I used to have sleep paralysis, and I thought that I was being haunted by a ghost. Thought I was being haunted by a nurse who used to stand up. Now this happened at university. So what I'm trying to say is, spirit was trying to communicate with me all my life. I was scared. So my fear blocked it. So all these people who are in fear, they're blocking their own higher self from talking, because the higher self don't shout. When I came out of sleep paralysis, I used to suffer from seizures, just to let you know, from when I was like young. Never had epilepsy. I used to pass out, have seizures from stress. And once I came out of that and I started training, the seizures stopped. After lucid dreaming, I mean, that's going to be another podcast where I actually tell people what I did in my lucid dreaming, because it is fucking jokes, what actually happened to me. Jokes, right? I wanted to fly so bad. And I was in my flat and I was like, if I'm dreaming, Min, walk through the door. But before that, I had to slay my sleep paralysis demon. He was a midget, and he used to lie on my chest. He was a white man, and he used to lie. He was like a dwarf, something out of Lord of the Rings type of person. And he just used to put all his weight on my chest, and I was like, all right, what did I learn? Breathing. So it was all about the breathing. And I was like, if I push him off, then I can go and see if I can go around the flat, right? So I finally did it. And when he fell on the floor, he disappeared into black smoke. At this point, I'm thinking I'm awake. So I go to I go to my front door. I wear lenses, contact lenses, so it's blurry, right? I can't see shit. I'm in my flat, in my bedroom, and I looked at my door, my bedroom door, and I went, Min, if you're lucid dreaming right now, I'm having this conversation in my head, Min, if you're lucid dreaming right now, walk through the door. Come, let's go. I was like, all right. I walked through the door, okay? And there were 3 more doors. I was like, okay, I'm really dreaming, shit. I was like, okay, let's pick a door. Went through that door and I'm in my flat. I'm literally in my flat. So I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. I'm fucking lucid dreaming. I was like, right, let's go to the balcony. Let's fly to the moon. Let's go to the stars. Let's have a journey. Yo, this is great. So I'm like, I go into my flat now and I've got this massive lounge and then there's the balcony, right? I turn in and I'm like, why is there so much papers everywhere? And then at the left, I was not scared, by the way. At the left corner of my eye, there's a guy walking around. Listen, this guy is not, he was from the like 1940s or the 50s. He was Italian. I'm sure he had this mustache. He had like a detective, you know, one of those Sherlock Holmes magnifying glasses. So he's looking through that and he's looking around and I'm going to him. I'm like, what are you doing here? And he went, shh, can't you see? I'm trying to assess the scene. And I went, oh, sorry. And I'm thinking, this looks like someone's burgled a flat and I'm not supposed to be here. And he carried on. So I was like, fuck this shit. I'm going off the balcony. Let's fly, right? I hesitated, even just for a second, I hesitated. And I went, what if I'm not dreaming? If I go off this balcony, I'm gonna die. And I was like, oh, man. All of a sudden, my fear manifested as a table that I don't own, coffee table, and it came right in front of me. And I was like, and the table's like, no. And I went, okay. So I very quietly go to my front door, open it, and there's a bigger door. It's like a church door. I was like, damn, okay. Now I live on the second or third floor at this point. I'm like, okay, guess we're going into this door. Open this door now. There's a path and I can go either left or right. And I see this guy walking past me like this. And he turns around and looks at me like, you're not supposed to be here. And I was like, right, I'm not going that way. So I went left. There's this massive field and there's this castle. I always go to the same place. There's a castle. I swear Harry Potter must live there because there's all these people who are like practicing magic, but it's not like Harry Potter. It's like, you know, like me and you. And I'm like, okay, let's fly. So I run and I'm like, and I can't fly. All I want to do is fly. And then I see all these other people go into the castle now. And I'm seeing there's a guy with locks and he's dark, right? Dark skin. He's got his back up against the wall now. And he goes all the way down, picks up the potions or whatever it is, and then he just levitates all the way back up, and then he comes back down. So I'm like, wow, who's that? And there's loads of people. So I look amongst the potions, and there's my name, and it's got the number 36. And at that point, that was my age, right? And I said, is this for me? And they said, no, you're not ready. Then I wake up. So then after that, I was like, right, let me try and lucid dream again. But it was so real and I was so scared. I didn't want to do it. So my lucid dreaming was that, you know, the devil turned up in my room. He was made of fire. I was fucking scared. And he asked me if I thought I was God. Yeah, you think you're God? Like he was trying to shit me up. And these are the kind of battles that I was having in the spiritual realm, and then waking up and then you face what you're doing here, right? And there would only be a few people that I'll call and tell. Then I started astral traveling naturally, and it was very, very different. I was going through the stars, and then I would see a lot of geometric patterns, which I started drawing because I'm an artist as well. So I started drawing some of the things I was seeing. I was seeing a spiral, and I would just go through the spiral, and then it was like a wormhole, and then I would be on another dimension. So it was almost like I was like time traveling, and then I would write about those experiences. And I had a lot of premonitions, which included like a plane crash, which I saw it happen in South Africa. I knew it was very hot where I was. B.O.B. the rapper was there, but he was messaging me at that time. You know, it was just the connection of like energy, recognizing energy. And I thought some of the stuff he was talking about was really like quite dope as well. But then he went off Instagram for a long time and everyone started saying he was a clone, but it was just, he was talking his truth at that time and had his awakening. I was having my awakening. You know, this is not like, oh, B.O.B. fancied me or he was talking to me. No, no, no. It was just a literal like, a connect. And then in the astral, I was connecting and he was there. And I thought, huh, this is weird. And then everyone was like, there's a plane crash. And I saw the private plane, it was small. And I saw that the tail had blue, red, and another color. And I was so convinced that it was real because I felt the heat. I knew I was in a hot country. And he said to me, and there were fans, and then there was an open, and he went, yo, there's a plane crash. So it was like he was just there. Then I woke up and it was 4 a.m. and I typed in like plane crashes in the last 24 hours. Boom, there it was. It had just taken off. And I remember going there, I was going through mud. I saw the thing on the internet and I was like, okay, thanks, but what am I supposed to do with this intel? I couldn't understand what I was supposed to do with this information. Then I was like, right, I really need to study astral traveling. So from then, for the last 2 years, I've really been working on astral traveling, decoding messages, writing things down, listening to my higher self, presenting it in a way where it's a visual, like a circuit board, where people can say where they're at. And then on another page, I'm writing down the explanations of what that means. I suddenly became very adept at knowing what AI or VR and augmented reality, I could kind of time jump where there was technologies where I was seeing them and I didn't want to tell anyone, but I was just writing them down. There were people that I was meeting and then I would meet them. There were people from like the disabled adults that I worked with. Some of them were there in my dream as like protectors. So, you know, we know that disabled people and especially autistic people that I work with, they really are tuned in. They're like super kind of in their Kundalini all the time. And that's why they rock. I noticed that I used to rock. Chris is covering his face and I don't know why, but I'm going to ask him in a minute. And then the rocking, I bought a meditation, like a Tibetan bowl, manifested that just came out of nowhere. And then I realized once I was doing that I was rocking myself. So I was mimicking a lot of these things and I was seeing them on the astral. Then I had a lot of messages for maybe people around me. And then my higher self really just linked in with me. And I realized that I started talking a way where nobody fucking understood me. I became really isolated and alienated. I moved from there and realized that I needed to be in my own physical space. And that's how I ended up here. The end.
That was like the craziest stories ever. I love it. First of all, I just have to go way back and say that I can relate to being called weird. And I was actually voted the 3rd weirdest girl in my school, which really upset me. I remember that day, like it really, really upset me. Now I don't care. Now I'm like, yeah, call me weird because I am weird and I want to be weird, you know, like I want to be.
I thought you was mad because you didn't win. I would have been mad that I ain't win, but
yeah, I came 3rd. So funny. But yeah, so like I can relate to being like, you know, feeling misunderstood throughout my whole life, not being able to fit in, not being able to form relationships and maintain relationships.
Yeah.
I'm even just talking about like friendships even.
Yeah.
The whole addiction thing, battled with many addictions. I currently still have a few addictions that I'm still trying to cope with and deal with, so I can relate to that. The dreams, like I feel like I want to just come off the like call you later and tell you all about my dreams, because I have such vivid dreams that I've always had, like, and I always remember them, I always write them down, and I do the same thing. Like it's just so weird because I've had one when I was in a plane crash, and the tail fell off behind me and I was in the plane, like, and I remember thinking, oh, we're definitely going to go down. And my dreams feel real, so like, you know, when I'm there, it's like sometimes I wake up and a bit like where am I kind of thing. And I mean, I've had so many dreams, like exactly what you're talking about, the whole like geometric thing. I had a dream when I was in Egypt. I know for a fact it was a past life experience when I was in the mystery schools, probably in Sumeria. I have a friend here, ironically, his name is Pharaoh. And
Tell me about him.
yeah, you need to meet him, seriously. You'll really connect. And he was showing me this book just full of geometrical symbols and shapes, and basically telling me how the pyramids work. And it was a book about the pyramids, basically. So I have like really vivid dreams, connections to shapes and stuff. Yeah, I don't know if Chris, you want to add anything? I do have a question, but I mean, if there's anything that you want to relate to before I kind of move on to the question, Chris.
Oh no, do your thing. But yeah, all of that.
The guy with the potions, by the way, in your lucid dream, that was like going up with the potion.
He does look like him.
But you did change your hair, Chris. You had different.
He did look like him.
It goes back and forth. It was yeah, that's a long story.
I've had a dream with Chris as well. I've had a dream with Chris as well, so I think he can actually astral project.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. You can go ahead.
I mean, I do have quite a few questions. In terms of all the darkness that you've experienced. And in fact, I think on one of the last podcasts that Chris was on with me, he mentioned about the power of transmuting darkness, like harnessing the power for good through your darkness. How would you say that you managed to do that? Basically, everything that you've gone through, or was it just a case of the fact that you went through this Kundalini awakening, and it was naturally resolved in a way? You basically knew how to transmute that, or did you still have to put the work in yourself?
No, it wasn't. It's really horrible when I see on Instagram. I feel very strongly about this, as you know from my other IG live that I did. There is no firstly, there's no shortcut to a Kundalini awakening through yoga or whatever, or psychedelics. There's no kind of shortcut. Experience is the front door, and I entering my own house through the back door. Simple, straight. Because even if someone has that psychedelic experience to have their Kundalini awakening, what are you going to do with it if you haven't even worked through your chakras? What are you going to do with it if you haven't even faced the dark night or the devil in your dreams, and you haven't realized what you needed to, and then realized that, you know, the darkness is you too. If you only work through, say, one trauma, or transmute one trauma at a time, the cosmos will very cleverly, just like in Street Fighter, you know that guy, E Honda, million slaps. It's like, it feels like a million bitch slaps. I always say I'll get a million bitch slaps from the universe, and until you don't listen, so there's no fluffy way of saying, oh, let's go into a transcendental meditation and we can work through your darkness, and then you will come out and just wrap yourself in golden light and focus on the violet flame. It's like taking a paracetamol when you've got a headache. You're not really going to the root. Sorry, Chris, that's painkiller. So a painkiller, or popping a pill, or going to a guru to say, hey, can you heal me, means that you're putting someone else on a greater platform than yourself. And I didn't believe in that. I just had to listen to my higher self. But there was no answers in the transmutation. There's no answers when it comes to how to transmute. But the download I got was, turn your pain into power and turn your fear into focus. And that was the only motto, I'm not gonna lie, that kept me alive, because I feel like I've been in like jail for a really long time. And how do you teach someone when they come out of jail how to live life on the outside? How do you teach that? You can't. Everyone's trauma is so different that how they transmute it is going to be what is important to you at that time. Is it to write a book? Is it to draw? Is it to write in a song and share your pain? Hence why Amy Winehouse, she did that so well, but then her darkness engulfed her. her demons engulfed her, and everyone around her just watched her destroy herself. So you got to be careful who you're even telling that you've had an awakening, or you're going through maybe voices in their head, because people will really see your potential before you do. That's what we got to thank haters for. They got that magpie fucking vision. They see something shiny and they just want to be like, right, I'm going to own it, or I'm going to destroy it. One of the two. I'm going to peck it until it ain't no more. So it's a very personal thing. And I would say go to a trusted person, or all the answers are within. If you can't hear the answer, meditate harder. If you can't meditate harder, go sit in a, not in a tree, but I mean, I'm in a tree house now, but be around the elements. And this is a very complex, I could do a whole podcast on alchemy, which I do want to do anyway, and balancing those elements and really tuning into the fifth element and, you know, understanding what metaphysics really is. So this goes on to the question that you had earlier about how I got into metaphysics was, you know, when I discovered Seven Boma, he literally was my kind of counterpart in the astral, because every time I was at this castle or university, he was there and we were studying the same things, and it's like he was my friend, and every time I thought of something he would say it in the video. So I thought, right, I'm resonating on that frequency. I can't look up to him as the guru, because that he's showing me my potential. Everyone is showing you your potential. If you resonate and understand somebody, they're showing you potential. You should not worship them. You should not worship them. You should not say, oh, please heal me. And they say, yes, my child, and give you the magic tongues and what they do, like, no offense, in the church and all of that. No, because when you go home and it wears off, that's your drug. You're back in the addiction loop. It's crazy. And this is the feedback loop that I talk about in my book, that when you are going in this snakes and ladders thing, how you turn your pain into power is up to you, because the stages will never end. And then that poison that becomes your medicine, you have to self-medicate first and stop trying to save the world. You're not an avenger like that. It's bullshit what they're trying to sell to you. Oh, you're a light worker, you're a Palladian. Why don't you find out what planet you came from? Bro, what's wrong with the planet I'm on right now? Like, what's wrong with me just being human? Being human is the hardest motherfucking shit ever. And I tell you what, it's the experience we signed up for. So there is no real way of saying, okay, here's your problem. Let me, because now I have this logical side and my creative side, and I've got the balance right, because my higher self is both. When I write and draw these things for people, I try and give them solutions, but it's just a bird's eye view on some boxes and words that they recognize: struggle, pain, growth, change. And then you go back, maybe. Then you go forwards, then you go back. People are deterred after the first snake that they go down. They are deterred. This shit is not for the fucking weak. And I'll say that with my chest, like, that shit, no. Don't tell me I had an awakening and now I'm like this and now I just want to heal people. Do you know how many times, and I've had to bite, because I keep that real, right? I keep it too raw and too real. And I feel like I'm gonna hurt these people. But hear what? If you are still easily hurt by someone who's trying to help you and give you that tough love, you're not as awake as you think you are. You're not as awake as you think you are. And this is the sensitive bullshit that people are feeding you and saying, let me do the light code transmission. I will heal you. I've got a message from your angels. Pay me $333 or pounds, and everyone's become a Jesus now all of a sudden. And the real messengers, the suffering messiahs, yeah, we're getting shoved to a side. We're being called rude. I have no friends left. No one wants to be in a relationship with me. My family, yeah, I love them and I always help them. Like, your family is your first karma. And I've helped my brother come out of his schizophrenia, and he's doing, again, spiritually, my whole family, even my dad astral travels, and that's why he drinks so much. Listen, it's deep. You don't even know. Your parents are people. Your parents are fucking people, man. The shit they go through. And then you're sitting there going, oh, my dad didn't love me, so I hate men, and I'm not going to be in my divine femininity because I seen my mum get beat down, so now she's a pushover, and now I'm never going to be emotional. Fuck that shit. I'm going to be jaded for life. This is people working through their shit, you know. This is people working through their shit. Human beings are complex, they are sensitive, and they ain't ready for this fire and freedom. You want to be free? Walk through the fire, stare into the abyss, drown, die, and then come back up. And guess what? You're going to die again, because this is not a baptism. This is a near-death experience. I had to research near-death experiences to understand what a spiritual awakening was, because I came out of my body for like 6-7 days, and I still till this day can't. This is the first time I uttered the story in its glory. But Alex and Chris, it was, I died. I faced the devil. I faced like being numb and starting a new job and being all like, hi, my name's Min, and yeah, I'm a personal trainer. And then for them to hate you because you look good. So the more I worked on myself, people were fucking hating me because they didn't even know that I was visiting the dark night of my soul every fucking night. And just because I worked through that and turned my pain into power, now you wanna hate me just because I shine. But hey, the sun don't apologize for shining. Don't care if you get burnt. Go seek some shade, bitch. That's how it's got to be. And do you know how hard that is to do by yourself? When there's no friends around you and there's no one to support you, because they don't know how to support you, because it's Min, and Min is going to say the truth. And guess what? I don't want to look in the mirror of truth. So therefore, I'm not going to be around Min. So now I went from being the weirdo that was outcasted because I wasn't good enough to now being that girl that no one wants to be around, that woman, whatever you want to call me. Yeah, you got to have a strong stomach for me. And now people are like, oh my God, Min, you got to do your videos. I'm like, really? You really want me to do my videos? Are you ready to hear what I've got to say? Because it ain't no rainbows and and namaste, sister. It's not that. Transmutation is a bitch. You need to watch Full Metal Alchemist. I'm a huge anime fan. Sorry, I went on a tangent, but I feel
No,
really
I wasn't sure if no, go on, Chris. I feel like you want to say something.
Chris, please talk to
I
me.
can see your face.
No, I mean, but I know when you've been through things that you've been through, you can tell and hear the passion in it. And yeah, so ain't nothing to add on to. It would just be me amen and stuff he was already saying. So that's why I'm not asking you anything. Like I said, we're gonna definitely do a part 2. And then Alex is asking all the things that need to be asked for real.
No, do you know what it is? I just feel like I've also experienced some really creepy, terrifying, supernatural stuff, Min.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I'm the person that can tell you, but I ain't done none of that stuff. So I'm that person in your story, because I can tell you all about astral travel, but I can't necessarily do it that well. You know,
Have you
even though I know you do it
tried?
every night. Oh yeah, but that's why I said that's a whole nother discussion I ain't gonna do on here. But I can tell okay, so my friend had a Kundalini Awakening.
Right.
And when he would lucid dream or astral travel, he would come ask me the questions. And I would be like, oh yeah, that's boom, 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 boom. He was like, oh, okay, cool. So we were literally like, he would, one day he would see something and I'd be like, I tried to touch it. And then we'd be like, yeah, let's try to touch it. Then he breathed it in, then it was just building. And I was just laughing because I was like, I can't do any of this, but we coming up with these solutions together. So it goes back to your point you made also. People are at different points in it. And it's not a straight line. When you started talking about the chakras, people think you go straight up, but you go in a spiral and you hit things when you hit things. So like certain people have mastered the astral part. I just got all the documentation stuff down. But as they say, books can guide you, but your heart defines you. So I'm laughing because I can tell you're so passionate because you feel what you went through and you experienced it. And you know that it's real. And people can only be that passionate about things they've experienced. You can tell the difference between people that are on here talking about things as opposed to people and talking about things they've seen other people do or heard about as opposed to people that have done it and experienced themselves. So that's why I'm just like, there's no point in me asking questions because you're doing your thing. And I just let you go on your rants because them rants be funny and they accurate. And I do the same thing. You don't get in boy people rants. So yo, you good. I mean, there's a lot of truth, but we'll come back. I'll come back later to them.
Do you have any specific question about anything that I've like told you where you like maybe want to know more or relate to specifically?
Oh, I mean, a lot. But yeah, I'll let Alex go. I'll think
Chris
about
is
one.
just like a cliffhanger, ain't he? He's just like,
He's
Oh,
absorbed.
well, I mean, 'cause everything could be expounded upon for real. And I know that. And I know you kept things short. So I'm trying to,
I
because I don't know
really
what
did.
time, how much time we got.
No, we can keep going.
Because, yeah,
You're right for time.
like you said, you don't, just in general, you can't make things happen until they're supposed to happen somewhat to an extent. And a
Yes.
lot of times, oh yeah, that's why I can't astral travel, because I know I had a lot of fear in different areas. Because
Same.
when you talk about you couldn't astral travel till you got yours was a gnome or whatever off of you.
Yeah,
So
the
I
sleep
yeah,
paralysis.
right. So I experienced sleep paralysis like at 5. Then I started seeing the shadows not too long after. So it was I didn't get much sleep growing up, so I was always tired in school and shit. And you know, that made me irritable and a lot of other things. But anyway, so it was hard to go to sleep on my back. I just stopped sleeping on my back because that was automatically triggering it. Then it got to a point that I literally start seeing the shadows. Then, you know, you hide under the bed and you literally feel them hover over you. So that's why when I found out about astral travel, I was like, oh, that shit real. But what about all the other shit I seen? So it was still some fear hidden throughout the years that I was trying to get over. And you actually helped me with a lot of it, because like you said, once everybody says once you face whatever you see, it eventually goes away. It's as simple as literally facing your fears. But it's just, yeah, it's a lot of interesting things you said that we come back to. But you can go, Alex, if you want.
I was just gonna say I relate like to how tough it is. It does annoy me a lot that, you know, in the spiritual community they talk a lot about the whole namaste and love and light and stuff, and I just feel like you need to go into the dark. Like, you know, this is what I was searching for. I was always talking about the balance and the oscillation between the light and the dark, and I was like, why is no one talking, like why is no one else talking about this, you know? And I'm having these, the past 3 years now, it's got quite frequent. Like 2 years ago was the most terrifying experience I've ever had. It was the first moment that I realized the difference what fear and terror is. Because before that, I just kind of thought fear and terror is like the same thing, isn't it? Like that's just what I thought until I experienced terror. Then I was like, now I know the difference between fear and terror. And I don't know, I've always kind of wondered how to process, how to deal with it, how to protect myself, because I feel like it's a process that you keep saying, like you go all the way down and you die again, you rise back up and then it happens again. So I know that they're going to happen again because I feel like I'm being prepared for something. So how do you, I mean, I know what you're saying, because like, you know, only we can help ourselves, only we can heal ourselves. And I completely understand your point about these healers that are out there, these so-called healers that like, oh, I can heal you, I can heal you. And I feel like it's, you know, it's rare that people want to, they don't want to take responsibility for their actions. They're quite lazy and they want someone else to do the work for them. They're not ready to face the work. And I was in that position. I've been there, like, you know, I'm guilty of that like a good few years ago, until the universe keeps pushing it at you. It keeps pushing it. It's like, no, you've got to do the work. You've got to do the work. You know, you can go to how many other people if you want. You're delaying the process.
So are you asking maybe potentially of, even though I got to a point where I can say all is self and I don't even like really protect, I don't do no rituals, I don't do any, even though I've got what looks like, you know, the beginning of a satanic ritual in my flat, but it's, you know, only because I'm so comfortable with, hello, the demons work for me, gang, you know, they're just my people. But are you saying that before that stage, obviously I had faced terror and there were crystals that I was keeping around me and things like that. So what you might be asking is, how do you, if you're at that stage where there's no information you can really go into which is authentic, how would a person, just before they're trying to get into transmission mode or lucid dreaming mode, how would they help themselves to feel more safe and comfortable with, I know, I felt that that's what you're asking.
I don't know.
I'm telepathic. I'm telepathic, you know, it's weird. So basically what I can say is when you're in the bubble of needing, I always call it like, you know, when you're riding a bike and you need the stabilizers. When you're in that transition period, and everything is a transition period to the next timeline or the next paradigm. So we all need those stabilizers, like even I would, to jump into the next thing, right? When you're jumping timelines, or you want to jump timelines, I think it's important for you to realize is that there are a lot of things you can do. You can put bay leaves under your pillow to manifest. You can get obsidian if you need grounding. You can get a clear quartz crystal if you want to tune into your higher self. You can get amethyst under your pillow if you want protection in your dreams, or if you want to dream more intuitively. I can give you a handful of meditation 432, and even what each frequency does. And every frequency has a color, and every color has a shape. And, you know, that's cymatics. And once you know about that, then you'll know a little bit about maybe taking the gaze away from what the solution is and turning the gaze inwards to how fascinating you are. To me, that is how you jump timelines, because when you're relaxed and alert is when the solutions come to you, right? So you have to be relaxed enough, but because we're like this, tension, and I see this in Alex because her mind is in 1,000 different internet tabs all open at once. I know that that's Alex's mind. And you've got Chris, who's just laid back. He's like, I'm calm. Between the two of you, like that polarization of both, you could exchange and say, you would need to learn the relaxation of not taking on so much and let it come to you, and focus on internal kind of microscopic looking at what you're made of. And then for Chris to maybe even be a bit more kind of like, okay, I'm going to do this, and really go into it with the confidence of, right, I'm going to do just me, and I'm going to present it on a platform, and I've got my purpose, and now I'm just going to act upon it. Yeah. Act upon all that intel that I know he's got. I know I can see it. And I think there's something in the middle of that is where the magic happens. When you're relaxed and when you're alert, there's something in the middle where it's this real between a particle and a wave. And that is spirit. That's where soul, spirit, and ether, all the elements, that's alchemy. When you can get all the elements working for you. So if we say your earth, yeah, are you grounding? Your water, what's your emotion saying? Your fire, where's your passion at? Your air, your ether, are you too much in the ether? Because you get those people who are like the monks, they're in the ether, right? They're not here. They're holding space, but they're not here. You know why? Because they don't want to send out a vibration, and they don't want to move, and they don't want to talk. You know why? Because they don't want to create a frequency, because every action has a reaction. They don't want no karma. They just want it to be ended. They just want to be in the joy. They want to be in their bliss, and they want to be kind, and they want to meditate, and they're ready to just check out. So they want to be in the mountains. That's very air. It's very air. You have to watch like Avatar Last Airbender, and you'll be able to see the Fire Nation and what the worst qualities are and what the best qualities are. You know, and these animes really do tell you about life. Like, I don't understand why people don't watch animes, because I'm like, listen, everything I learned, most of the things I learned came from anime. And I was into anime as a child because of my brother, because he draws. And he was amazing at like manga and all of this. So all these things that are around you are signs, and there's someone's interpretation. So if you know how to read, if you know how to interpret, I always say, learn how to interpret symbology. You can't learn how to interpret things around you if you don't know they're a reflection of you, because you haven't looked at the reflection of you. You haven't looked at yourself inside. If you haven't seen what your DNA even looks like, if you haven't seen that that's what the flower of life is, people are walking around with that symbol and they don't even know. That's probably the cross section. And then you don't even know what the world flag looks like. It's the flower of life. You don't even know what the procession of Venus looks like in the sky. It's the flower of life. Like, why are all these things all so connected, but people can't connect the dots? And that's one thing. I'm a decoder, because for some reason, like Rain Man, I can just see, oh, and then that's this, and then it's compute, boom, write it out. So what I'm trying to say is, when the messages are hitting you in your dreams, or if you feel like you need maybe protection, that is coming from a place of you're not sure that you can protect yourself. Because if your intent is everything, all you got to say is, I'm invisible. You know, I had to do that every morning when I said, she said, you're too open, you have to cloak yourself. I said, what the fuck is that? She said, you have to do the physical cloaking in the mirror and say, I am protected. So it was just through my words, my intention. Look at that. It's like a prayer, you know, please, Lord, protect me tonight. And then some people listen to meditation music, or some people have the crystals. But really and truly, Alex, like, isn't that just an amplifier? So it will amplify how you're feeling. And if you don't believe in the crystal that is, and you're hanging on to it for dear life, and that external thing becomes the healer, how is that different from what we're doing? But like I said, if you're in transition, which a lot of people are, use what you need to use that makes you feel in your heart at balance. Do whatever it takes, because everyone's different. Experiences are unique. Remember, don't do what I do. I trained like a bitch. Looking good it was a bonus. I trained like a bitch. I started aging backwards. I went into my DNA and I was like, what go on, guys? What's going on? Like, what's going on? Yeah. You look at me 10 years ago and you look at me even 5 years ago. I don't look the same. People don't understand. They're like, I mean, what cream do you use? And I'm like, now, if I start telling them it was DNA activation, they're going to look at me like, what the fuck is this bitch talking about? And I just went, oh, it's meditation. And then that's the simple way. It's not just meditation. It's a epigenetics. It's a talking to your DNA. It's a understanding that if you know how DNA works, if you know how you work and how many minerals you've got, mine was to train, but Alex, yours may not be to train. Yours may be, right, I need to go within. That's my work phone. And I don't even know who the fuck is calling me, because it's a Saturday night. That's deep. Maybe that was a universe.
That's crazy.
Listen, and no one knows I've got that phone. I just got it 2 weeks ago. That's my work phone. The government.
What happens to me, Min? I'm not joking.
No, listen, I'm not even joking, guys. Why did I not put this on? Do you know what? This kind of weird stuff happens to me all the time. You know, people will come up to me in the street and they'll say to me, by the way, that hatred you're hanging on to, it's blocking you. And I'll be like, excuse me? I don't even know you. Yeah. Because all these guides will come to you, Alex, but you just have to probably open the channel and recognize that, is this quartz crystal, do I feel resonated to it? Yes, I do. You can say yes, there's no harm. Look at the crystals behind me. Nubia gave me half of those crystals. They were all gifts, but do I sleep with them or something, you know? But if it makes me feel good to sleep with a rose quartz crystal, and if it makes me feel good to listen to some angelic music for that time, whatever makes me feel that comfort or that love from the universe talking to me, do that. Do what feeds your soul, because you need to know what eats and what feeds. Everything eats, everything feeds. Know what you eat, know what you're feeding. And I know that, Alex, this is going to help you the most, because when people are eating off you, and I see it, and they're not feeding you, there's no balance. Once you're in balance, the messages will come pouring in, because it's a direct line to the Akashic, which is what was talking to me when I was on the bike that day. I tapped into the Akashic. I wrote down Bruce Lipton. I didn't even know who Bruce Lipton was. He discovered epigenetics. And once I realized who this guy was, who's an ex-scientist, I was like, Min, this is deep. I've talked to doctors in my family, young doctors, and she said, really, is that what happened to you? Like, maybe you must have heard the name somewhere. I said, no, because I had just moved back to my parents. I didn't even have internet at that point. I didn't have my laptop. So she went, I find this hugely fascinating. And she's really tuned into what I say. Why? Because there are things that science cannot explain. There are things that the church cannot explain. There are things that spiritual leaders cannot explain, and all these people that have got millions of followers on their Instagram, they will not be able to explain these things, because if they haven't experienced it, it doesn't exist, Alex. It won't exist to them. Are you God? I said, I was scared. Are you God? I said, no, I'm not. And I refused it, right? The devil went away, okay? So it's the similar thing with your battle, because I think you are very powerful in the astral, but I tell you what's holding you back in the form of ego, self-doubt. You doubt yourself. You have to allow yourself the time, Alex. Like Chris was saying, like nothing happens almost before its time, even what my mum always says. And sometimes when you're on the quest for answers, it's the ego that needs to know, okay? People don't understand that part. The ego always seeks to know. It always wants to know everything. But guess what? Your higher self already knows. And that's how you will know if you know.
Yeah.
Okay? So there's a lot of simplicity in what I've just said. Your ego always seeks to know. The scientists always want to know, where did we come from? You know, the jackal, Anubis, who is my father? Snoop, the lion, Jah, Jehovah, who is my father? They don't care about that they are already everything. That question, that male ego or that side, the Anubis side, the jackal side of us exists. And trust me, Alex, like I go in and out of it all the time, doubting myself and being like, yeah, but what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And then I was like, Min, chill. You already know. You know everything. You're everything and nothing at the same time. Scientists cannot put a fucking name on this. They want to know because they're in the thought, the mind, the logic. That's the last process of you understanding any message. Thought is the last process, the Mercury, the messenger. That's the last process of your alchemy to know, because a child doesn't need to know. We talked about child doesn't need to know. It just is. It's in its heart space. Your ancestors didn't need to say nothing. That's wisdom, because they had instinct. They didn't need to talk. They just used to drum the message or just draw the message out. And they had the group telepathy. They were sitting under the stars. They had the constellations. They said very little words. And actually a lot of ancient languages didn't have the name for kill and murder and blood. And this is all the fucking babble, the Bible, the language, confusion, angles of light, angels of light coming down and let us go down and confuse them. Let us keep them in the jackal mindset of, where did I come from? Who am I? Where did I come from? This is the constant search. But once you know self, you're like, how did I come from something when I'm everything? And then you can do the alchemy. You know, when people say manifestation and the law of attraction, this is what it really is. I don't believe in the law of attraction. Fuck the secret. It's not a secret, all itself. I don't give a shit about the secret. It's some bullshit American style pop psychology that was used to sell, just like the healer and all of this bullshit that I can, oh, if you get cancer, it's your fault. You manifested it, you know? It's all of this, when really it's an imbalance of maybe the body. So there's a sickness, it's a dis-ease of the body. You're not at ease, you're not relaxed and alert at the same time. So there's a lot of hidden shit. I could go on about this. So it's so deep. This is so deep and it's so occult, but there's so much fear surrounding that people will do exactly and innocently, Alex, like you, innocently doing the sage protection. And you know, all that's really doing is you're protecting the air that you're breathing in at that moment. Bacteria and all of that, which is a star. And then the crystal is amplifying your feeling. Yeah, so if you really are feeling like the love or whatever, it's just going bounce back, you know, the oscillation that you were talking about. So you're oscillating with the crystal, right? And then it's almost like a placebo effect. I'm protected with this crystal. I'm not wearing a crystal. I'm protected with this crystal and nothing can harm me. But it's that self-belief, which is epigenetics, Bruce Lipton. It's that belief that will protect you. So that means if you're protecting you and you had the power all along and the sword is you, you don't even need the sword. You can just do this. I won. And who am I battling? Wait, hold on. I'm battling me. Wait, hold on. Why am I even in a battle? Ask yourself in your dream next time if that happens, or there's a dualistic, because in the astral, there's no duality. It's all based on on what is a castle in the astral, is because you know what a castle is here. So really and truly, this battle that you're going into, if you just said, yo, you're me, let's go and explore this land. You've shifted the dialogue just like that. And in the astral, you just think of something and it happens, right? That sword can turn into flowers. Hey, yo, I bought you some flowers. It could turn into a bottle of wine. Hey, yo, you want a drink? That's how powerful you are. But because your ego tricked you into saying you lost the battle. But if you said, but there is no battle, you change the flip the script, change the dialogue. Change that self-dialogue and you've already not even won, because when you realize there's no winning and losing, that there is just alignment, you will align to the fact that, hey, I'm Alex and I'm not even Alex right now. I'm Medusa and I'm in this realm, and let me go and see which motherfuckers that I want to turn to stone. And actually I'm I'm a rape victim, and I just need to make peace with that. So let me just go, you can change the whole damn script. And then what you carry into the next day from your dream realm is exactly what's going to happen. So when people say, how can I change it? And they go to these healers, and the healers do NLP, neuro linguistic program, and they say, I can remove the blockages. They're not telling you that you're doing it for yourself. That's the truth. And I said this to a person who was like, let me remove the blockages of your subconscious. And I went, you want to go into my subconscious? Because I couldn't do my videos. Like how I'm talking to you right now, there was a block. Alex, I won't lie, I couldn't do it, right? If you don't listen to the messages of the darker version of you, and they've got a message for you, then what you're doing is you're feeding the separation, and then you're even more distant from yourself than you were when you went into your dream. But if you say in your dream, and this is the trick, I become a spider, now I can climb up the wall. So if I couldn't fly, why didn't I not make myself into the eagle? Why didn't I become a bird? Because I carried on being Min. I was trying to run, jump and fly. And I'm watching everyone else and I'm like, how is this guy levitating and going up and down? Like, why is he doing it and I can't do it? Because I didn't change the dialogue. I was still living 3D and 5D. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. But I would say your shadow self and your shadow work is really in November, because we're in the Plutonian energy right now. And Pluto is so far removed from us that it's the coldest, iciest planet that we know. And Scorpio, that's my home planet, icy, cold and distant. Like, you have to visit that planet and be like, I'm okay with being the ice, because ice is frozen water and water is life. So really and truly, I've just changed the dialogue, and that's alchemy. You have to do the alchemy on your shadow work and turn the poison into medicine, and turn the fear into focus and the pain into power. I will always bring it back to this. I won't just say this, Alex. I will apply it. I will apply it to any situation, any problem that someone gives me, I will give them a solution. But you know what? They can't do it unless they believe in it. So you have to really believe in your shadows and be like their gang.
How do we apply this? Like, can you delve more into
your mindset?
So sitting with yourself alone.
You can do dark meditation. Have you ever heard of dark meditation?
No.
Look that up.
The book.
Sorry?
Want me to show them the book?
Yeah, go on.
I have a book on it.
Can you share that information with me?
Oh yeah, I have to, give me 1 second. Yeah, I can talk. I have to grab the book, but there's a whole book on it. And like you said, the darkness is more potent. Just like the darker any fruit is or anything is more potent. So doing shadow work, it's going to be more potent. It's going to be in your face. It's not light. Light is literally what it is. Light, darkness is heavy. It carries more weight. So it's not going to be anything polite when it comes to you. It's literally what you've been hiding or running from. So I don't think people realize shadow work is literally what it is. Like, it ain't nothing pretty. It's the things you have hidden and ran from, the trauma you have put aside, the child that you hid or put away. Like you said, it was interesting. You were talking about the child, and that's the point, to get back to things you lost as a child. When you were a child, you knew everything. You've only been programmed out of the things you already knew. Me and my homie literally had this conversation the other day about intuition. I was like, because he's the one that woke me up. I was like, literally think about it. He had just said he was learning something. And he was like, I thought it, then I looked it up. I was like, so you knew it and you went and got confirmation? So start trusting your intuition more. When I said it, he was like, it fucked him up, because that's what we do. We fuck each other up all the time with things like that. But that's why conversating is important. It helps you say things out loud that you already know. I didn't tell him nothing. He already knew it. He had just said it. It just provided it from a different angle of light, and he caught it. But he already knew. And like you said, we were talking about doing tarot. You're only communicating with somebody else's higher self that they don't want to listen to. Like, I laugh because I can do a reading for you, yeah, and they're easy for me because I already know it's nothing I'm doing. I don't need to meditate to get into the mind space. I know, you ready? Because I'm ready. We're just going to tell them what they already know, that they're ignoring that higher self. And that I do from time to time still, but at least I know. Or wherever. So I'm just like, whatever. But it's just interesting that you said all that, because, yeah, that is the main problem, is people putting all the power outside of themselves. You're not supposed to worship the Christ. You were supposed to become the Christ. Greater is he that come after me. That's literally what the fuck he said. So why are people trying to worship him, become him? I don't know. I seen the motherfucker and I was like, I'm trying to do that shit. You know, when did you become the watcher instead of the doer? Also, it's just a lot. But I feel you. There's a lot of you people just need to believe in themselves. Like they say, be the change you want to see. All the things people to say but don't believe in or don't understand is the problem. That you are supposed to become your own Christ. It was yeah, you hit on a lot of good points. I'm gonna stop there. But yeah.
That is so what you said at the beginning, Chris, that the darkness being potent, like that, I need to get that tattooed somewhere, because the darkness is where I feel home. And I'm a real, how do you say it, I started training in the dark, as in I started walking around with all the lights off. I used to do this 2 years ago, and I didn't know why I was doing it. And my housemate kept saying to me, Min, and she's come in and turned all the lights on, and I was like, fuck's sake. I used to be like this. Can you give me a bit of, because I'm very sensitive to the damn light, right? So anyway, when you're very sensitive to everything, as in my 5 senses, so I feel pain and pleasure in equal measures. Like it's deep, right? It's deep. So if I'm high, it's even worse. Okay, I'm like
that's why
crackhead fiend type person.
Yeah. That's why I don't smoke. I always tell people I never smoke or drink when I was in a bad mood, because I can already know I feel shit. So I didn't want to feel anything more. And then when I smoke and I feel myself about to go into a negative, I'm like, oh no, I'm not about to ruin this feeling, but with a bad thought. And actually, I did want to say this because Alex asked earlier. It's literally what Yoda said. Well, I think Yoda said it. Whether you think you're wrong or right, you're right. There is no, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's literally that simple with this, as far as mastering the mind. Whether you think you're wrong or right, you're right. Like, I'm going to use the most extreme example there is right now, Trump. He hadn't done anything, but he told people he did. He believed he did, and he became the president. I don't care what anybody says. That is the greatest example of, it doesn't matter what other people say about you. It only matters what you believe about you. I don't care how you feel about him. Understand what the man did and learn how to do what he did. He made his mind all, and the universe became his playground. The world literally was his playground, and has been his whole life. He hasn't made his own money. I don't even know how he became elected, other than he believed he could do all those things. He literally didn't even really do them. So it tells you even more powerful how powerful his mind was at the end of the day. It was nothing outside of him that made him president other than him. I wish I could do a course on him. And that's also the point. Get past the messenger and just get the message. I got the message of what I was supposed to get from Trump. People be like, it's the worst 4 years of their life.
was for you, but for me, I was just like, it's something to this motherfucker. Just like it's been something to everybody, but it is what it is. But yeah, my bad. That's darkness, though. You got to go in the dark. And like you're talking about, yeah, some people just, I mean, you have to be comfortable with darkness first. I do the same thing. I turn off all the lights, no matter where I'm at. But I'm just a vampire. Like, I know my lineage. I'm a dragon, a Draco, whatever. So the darkness is very comfortable for me anyway, you know what I'm saying? So too much light is just weird. My favorite part of the year is this part of the year. It gets dark. And that's when you feel comfortable and you get into your shadow work and all your research and stuff. So that's just part of knowing who you are and what you're comfortable with and where some people times of the year is the summer. So I call us shadow children. Shadow children know when that darkness hits. That's when it's time. That's when it's my time. But,
that's so weird, Chris. I feel like you're like saying my thoughts, which is super rare, but I'm literally, and Alex, I can say this to you as even a female, like people will be really scared of a woman who is really into her darkness, because they will see that as quite maleficent. They will see it as quite weird and very not very maternal, and things like that. But what we're forgetting, there's two things I want to say to you. Number one is where we came from was the darkest place, the womb. So we should be comfortable going back or forward to the bottom of the ocean, the Ma'at. And Ma'at, actually, you know, M-A is Ma, and in my language, Ma means mother. So, you know, there's a real disconnect with who the mother really is. And no one ever talks about the bottom of the ocean because they haven't been there. And if you study the bottom of the ocean, the two guys who actually went there, amazing documentary, I have to send it to you. Don't tell me you've been into motherfucking space, because you haven't even been to the bottom of the ocean, so you're chatting shit, first of all. And it is that externalization that we have of seeking outside when you haven't gone to the ocean, which is the mother, and we've only explored 10% of it. So that's reflected back into people. They haven't explored their own ocean, because a lot of people can't swim and they feel like they're going to drown, but you're never going to drown in the place where you came from. Okay, that's number one. Number two is what you were talking about earlier about the books, and you were talking about Trump, Chris. I wanted to say to you, Alex, is that each time you think or have this doubt coming into you, just think what Hitler achieved. He achieved so much and made people ignore the fact that the very people he was killing look just like him. So it's almost like the emperor's new clothes, you know. No.
You know why I'm laughing? Can I just say one thing? I don't know if you saw the Darkness Visible, Awakening.
Thank you, Chris. Go on, Alex.
I don't know if you saw the podcast that we did with Issa, but it's, do you know what I'm thinking, Chris?
What?
You are literally like the theme.
I know what I said.
You're like, this is Issa and this is Min. It is, he talks about spiritual alchemy all the time. During his podcast, he said exactly the same thing that you just said about Hitler. I'm not even.
Oh,
he said exactly the same
thing.
Interesting.
That's
word
interesting.
for word, like almost word for word. Like you can go and watch it. Like it's.
We were talking about it. Yeah, because we were like you said, it's just like, how can you miss the fact that this man convinced a whole group of people that people didn't look like him was a master race. And not only that, he, at the end of the day, he conquered majority of the world. Like, there's something to that. Then I took it a step deeper and I was like, show me one person in history that everybody hated other than Hitler. Is it possible that maybe he was the good guy and the winners are really telling the winners are telling the story? You know, but that's a whole nother discussion. But yeah, I get what you mean.
I believe that, I mean, I'm not going to go too deep into this.
We ain't got to.
I mean, I really have, but I mean, I can go deeper. But I was going to say that me and my brother had these conversations, right, about Hitler and Trump. And I came across something quite interesting about, there's this book, I think it's called Baron Trump or something.
Yeah.
About time traveling and stuff.
It's very
It's
Yeah, I got the book.
Have you actually? This is
Oh, I
so
read it.
weird.
Well, yeah, because somebody said, you know, his uncle, he said it, his uncle was MIT and he cleaned out Tesla's closet. So I was like, let me see if this is true. And it was true. And the book had some things, and I was just like, you know, like I said, nothing's a mistake. Everything's part of the plan. So
I would suggest that people watch this series on Netflix called Dark. It's one of my favorite.
yeah.
Have you watched it? Oh, I haven't really been able to talk about it with anyone, but that was very interesting to me. And also, I'm very upset that they didn't let the OA finish, because that was my favorite thing as well to watch, the OA 1 and 2. And if you can understand, not a lot of people understood the OA and they thought it was a bit of a cult thing, just like Donnie Darko, but I was heavily into that. Like, you know, I've actually got a velvet rabbit mask, and I did go as Donnie Darko to a fancy dress party, because I was really around what Donnie Darko was about, and how the fabric of time could be even manipulated or intercepted in any way. That only when I started doing the time traveling myself through the astral did I even start believing in it. Only when I did it myself with premonitions and things that hadn't happened and started happening. I did a whole presentation in a frenzy at 9 a.m. before Corona even hit. And I talked about everything that is happening right now. And I was talking about this, it's on my Insta stories. I will repost things from 2018, 2017. And in my dreams, I would have already been in the stadiums where the helicopters are flying over, and we're like hiding from them, and there's like a lockdown, and the stadiums are being used for like something where there's a lot of disease or there's a lot of sick people. And my dreams they were so real, that fear and that terror that I felt, it really shook me, where I was like, you know why I started walking around in the dark in the flat? Because of the dreams that I was having. And I said to my housemate, there's going to be an apocalyptic event. And I was dead ass serious about it. And she said, Min, you know, you're a powerful manifestor. You need to stop manifesting that. And I was like, yo, listen, something's gonna happen. Y'all can fuck off. I'm gonna train. And when the electricity cuts out, yeah, and when the happens, I was like, you lot are all gonna die, and I'm gonna be the person who survives. And you know, then the films started coming out on Netflix, like Dark, and then you had Mother, which was an AI. I love that film. And then there's also a lot of things that started coming out, Osmosis. And, you know, I had already known about AI for a really long time, because I had seen my Vedic history and my ancestors and Aztec technology, and just really going in my dreams, going the other way and time jumping to the past, and then going 3,000 years even in the future, or however many years. And to me, it got I was traveling so much, guys, I couldn't tell the difference between whether I was awake or asleep. That's dangerous. So I purposefully, like for the last year, I was just smoking every night, because I wanted to not dream. Because when I don't smoke, then I dream very vividly. So for the last...
No, yeah, that's why I know I can't. When I smoke, I can't. When I don't smoke, yeah, them shit speed.
A lot of people say that though, about smoking. A lot of people say that about smoking.
When I get high, I can astral travel, lucid dream, and still have very vivid dreams, and I keep a dream journal. But when I don't smoke, yo, I'm waking up tired, like fucking hell. Like the other night, it was the rocks were singing to me, and I told Nubia, and she was just so happy. She was like, shut the fuck up. She went, you went to Mount Shasta. And she started saying all this stuff, and I went, what? I don't know. The rocks were singing to me. I was climbing up these rocks. They were singing to me. They were talking to me. And then I went into this cave, and then the whole mountain moved. And as I was jumping to the next country or space in my dream, because I was lurching, I was closing my eyes in the dream, even though my eyes were closed. Make it make sense. And I was just like, what the fuck? But I felt the lurch. I knew I was traveling. And when I woke up, and this is only recently, so I've been doing IG lives, I've been doing my designing and all of this, trying to set up my mic, chatting on Discord, chatting with Alex, and really getting excited about that. Then I'm in the astral, and I'm also balancing my full-time job. I'm trying to train. I'm exhausted. My soul was exhausted. I have to catch naps in between. Without even smoking, I'm sleeping and I'm tired because it's naturally my body is feeling tired because my senses are in tune. And then I'm dreaming about things. I'm dreaming about people, and I'm waking up and I'm like, okay, here we go again. But I need to tune into getting into my subconscious and doing what you need to do as well, Alex. Like, I need to do the same thing. I need to program my subconscious to make it work for my waking reality, because what you dream of or what messages you're telling your subconscious is like telling a child, and then they come back with the product and say, here, and then you wake up and you live that day. So it's not whatever you live in the day and you sleep with it at night. It's not always like that. Yeah, if you believe that that's the order, you're always going to be a slave to the consciousness, to the conscious waking, to the masculine, to the how do you say it, the Anubis, the jackal mindset. And then it's your ego that dictates to your subconscious. Do you see how it works? So it's that perpetual, and the ego runs thing, that it runs, it's the king, you know. And I don't bow to no kings, and nature knows no king. So fuck that shit. And then if you flip it on its head and say, wait, the starting point is not 1 and 2. It's 0 and 1. I came from the womb. I came from the circle, the void, the abyss. The day, the sun cannot tell me what to do in the dark when the dark came first. Come on, that's obvious. Why did I not get that? So this is me now. Min, when you go to sleep, you need to program what you want to see happen the next day. So I started doing it, like, I've been doing this for a while. I started doing it last week as well. And it started happening where I was in the gym, in my dreams, and this is done. And someone asked me my age. And the next day I went to meet my friend. And then all those things happened. The gyms got closed down, and I was like, fuck, this is not exactly what I wanted. And then someone asked me my age, which was my friend. And she was like, how did I not know your age? And then we realized we were actually similar ages and how different our lives were, because she had a partner and a child, and I was single and didn't have no children and lived by myself. And we were like, wow, isn't that weird? And then I said to her, hey, I dreamt this, but it wasn't with you, it was with another person. Now, when I'm going to sleep, I'm thinking about my cousin, and she just came into my head randomly, and then the next day she messaged me. So it's so powerful that if you don't know which way round you're doing it, then it will do you.
Yeah. That makes so much.
It will do you. And I mean, it will bend you over and do you. It will shaft you. Your ego is like a bull. It's like a bull. We were in an era where they were only worshipping the bull. Remember that? The Romans. Remember that? The age of Taurus, you know, when we were in that age. Yeah, the bull worship and all of that shit. Okay? Where you're not seeing it as divine. You're not seeing it as divine, that the bull or the horns of the bull or even the goat is the female, you know, the uterus, right? So when you're trying to say, I need to kill this bull, remember what the Spanish people do. The red cloth, the bullfighting, to make it go mad, to show it red, the root chakra. Yeah? You can make women go mad just through sex. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing, you know. It's fuckery. It's a fuckery what they're doing to the women, right? Because it's not, the bull is divine still, but you're treating it like, remember, there's a coin, it's a coin, it has two sides to everything. We're in the dualistic. When you can rise above it and say, yeah, okay, we are everything. But at that moment, if you're the bull and you're in flight mode, yeah, which is what trauma is, which is what the 3D, which was my reality. I was the bull. Show me a little bit of red and I'm like, oh, I just want to kill everyone. Yeah, because you're not feeding me, you're making me angry, you're prodding me. And then the streets are filled with blood or red, the menstruation of woman. Please shut the fuck up. This is some occult shit right there. And it's all the mans them in it, enjoying watching this shit. Yeah? And don't forget with the whole homosexuality, nothing against gay people, by the way, whoever's listening. They're just energies. But what I'm saying is that homosexuality, there's something about the the power of even having control over this other man through the Kundalini, the physical anus side of the man. And there's something about blocking that even through, this is some deep shit I'm talking about right now. I'm not even gonna fucking say anymore, but what I'm saying is that bull, which is wild, which is the ego, right? If you can tame the beast and make that ego work for you, Alex, and I'm talking to you specifically, the other side of the coin of the ego, just like the demons being gang, the other side of this ego is confidence, self-esteem, being sure of yourself. This is divine masculine. You're in control. Yeah, I'm the bull. What do you need knocking over? The buffalo, the bison, the Native Americans, they were channeling the right spirit because they knew a herd of bisons and a herd of bulls knock some motherfuckers down. What is man? That's who you really want to go battle in your dreams. Call upon your ego to be the whole field of bisons and buffaloes. And then what is a sword, really? Because that's from the Iron Age, isn't it? It's from the smiths, the masons, all of that. It's a different type of alchemy. So you want to go really backwards to go forwards, is what I'm saying to you. You really want to study if it makes you feel better, like really study what the Native Americans did, really study what the African people were doing. And I'm talking the true Africans before Jesus, before church, before the colonizations. Really look at what Oshun, they were worshiping different elements, different tribes. Really look at indigenous tribes in the Amazon. Really look at what the Vedics were doing in India. Really look at the indigenous Aboriginal people, what they were doing, the rainbow serpent. They knew about dream space. They knew about dreamscape, right? Then you can go to the Mongolians, the Chinese, the Tibet, the martial arts. They knew about how to do the air and the chi and the energy. And, that's transmutation, babe. So it's not just one thing, isn't it? It's literally all the elements in all of the people, and they're all good at different things. But you can make everything work for you, just like a knife can kill or it can cut the food to feed people. So it's about your perception and how wide is that vision. When you have vision, you're relaxed and alert at the same time. I need to start.